Alright, so let's get a baseline trigger weight for this M&P CORE. It's right in the middle of the trigger, hopefully. £5.6. And I'm a moron. 7 pounds. Okay, here we go. £5.8. So 5.5 pounds, call it. So the end of the trigger is right at the 4-inch mark. So there is 1/4 of an inch. Let's see, no, 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch of pre-travel, at least. More like whatever the other one is, 7/16. Yeah, so call it 7/16 of travel. Then it breaks, and the full travel ends at the 4 9/16. So it's 9/16 of total travel with 7/16 of pre-travel. And the take-up is kind of weird. You can hear it, hopefully. It's got that M&P weird gritty grinding thing that apparently is due to the striker block not being polished. This is the M&P CORE, which, as I understand it, has a much, or at least a pretty improved trigger over the standard M&P, and it actually isn't bad. It's good to shoot. So the thing that's kind of bothering me is it's got a mushy reset, and there's a lot of pre-travel, and it doesn't really feel very crisp once you factor in the pre-travel. So we're going to try the forward set sear from M&P Apex, and also install the RAM at the same time. So let's do that. Well, that was a huge pain in the butt, but it appears to be working. So let's check the trigger pull. 4 pounds, 13 ounces. Which is heavier than I expected. 4 pounds. Oh, I could reset it, sorry. 4 pounds, 9 ounces. £4, 12 ounces. 4 pounds, 15 ounces. So it's about closer to 5 pounds than it is for 4 pounds with the supposedly 4-pound spring in it. So that's a little disappointing, actually. I may put the OEM trigger spring back in if I can ever work up the courage to do this again, because that is a huge pain in the butt. So this is kind of a pain, but the pre-travel has been reduced to about 1/8 of an inch. So right now it's on the 3/4 inch mark. I haven't touched the trigger. Then the pre-travel is 1/8 of an inch, which is much better. Pre-travel is 1/8 of an inch, and then so it goes to the 5/8 inch mark from the 3/4 inch mark. And then the break is about 1/16 of an inch. So the total travel is 3/16, which is a marked improvement. So that's all the way out is the 3/4. 5/8 is the pre-travel, and the break is a 1/16. So that is definitely better. It's heavier than I expected. Alright, so this is the first test. I've got just the cover of the slide on there because I'm going to slide in the rear sight again before I put the optic on. So I'm just going to put 2 rounds and a couple of magazines to make sure it doesn't double or anything funny is going on. Okay, trigger is much better. Hold center on that right torso. So it seems to be safe. Looks like a good strike, so I'm going to blame that on the Tula primer. Let's try some factory. Okay, this is PNC. This is new sights and new ammo and new trigger, so don't give me any crap. It's very different than it was. The trigger, I'm going to have to get used to the trigger. The trigger is very much different than it was. It used to have a huge amount of take up. Now there's just a little take up, and the reset is much shorter. So it's a definite improvement. I've basically been doing a revolver reset where I basically kind of like Jerry Mitchell does. He comes all the way off the trigger and comes back every time, and he certainly can shoot fast enough. But with this one, you just don't have to do that. You don't have to come off so far. So I'm just have to get used to my trigger finger not having to come out so far. And that was much more of a pain than I expected to install. Some people have had 0 problems and they just dropped right in and there's no issues, but man, getting the trigger spring back through every time on that pin and having to do that probably 6 or 8 times in the process, even with a slave pin, I eventually just gave up and was using a screwdriver to push the spring forward so that I could get the trigger pin through the loop of the trigger spring. But man, that is a pain in the butt. I do not like that about this design. But other than that, I'm really liking this gun. So now let's put put the optic back on and get used to it again. Looks like it's hitting okay with the iron sights. I generally run this with the RMR, so I just wanted to make sure the sights were on before I put the RMR back on. Alright, let's see if I can try some transitions from target to target, see if this reset helps at all. That's nice. I'm really going to have to do some more training to get used to it though. So there you go. Probably a really good investment. I'm going to have to get used to the trigger again, but it feels markedly better already. Rock on.